So some of you will recognize this car as the daily driver of a high school kid. Well, he's no longer in high school, but it's still his daily driver. Now, for those of you who don't know this car, it is a 71 MGBGT. Get it? So, since it is his daily driver, and he is 19 years old, as a 19-year-old kid, same as when I was 19, he drives it like it's a sports car. And the car could use a bit more refurbishment to be truly reliable driving it like that, and as a daily driver. So it's starting to develop a few issues that we need to look into. So let's get moving. So bonus points for anyone who gets the reference for the BR549. Now all of these decals, except for what's on the windows, were on it when he bought it, so he didn't do this. But one of the things we got going on here is he developed a miss in the number 2 cylinder. Now, for those of you who've been watching my channel, you'll know that this was just a used engine that I had laying at the back of the shop that we knew nothing about. And we just got it running on the floor of the shop and threw it in real quick so that he could finish high school. And if you're interested in watching those sketchy shenanigans, I will try to put a link up here in the corner if I can figure out how. So he's been trying to diagnose the miss in cylinder 2 himself by just moving spark plug wires around and moving spark plugs around, and it seems to be staying in the number 2 cylinder. So we got to find out, is it losing compression? Is it wiping a cam, or what is going on there? Now, if I remember correctly, this had low compression in number 2 when we first were trying to start it up, and the compression came back after beating on the valves a little bit, which told me that was probably just rust on the valve seats. But we'll get into that later, but because first thing we got to look at is he went to the store the other day, and when he came out, hit the key, nothing happened. So he might have burnt the starter up because he has been driving this thing with no choke cable in cold Ohio winter, because he went to change out the choke, got it pulled out, and never actually got the new one put in. So, like I said, he might have burnt the starter up, but we also have been having trouble with the wiring down by the starter being a bit sketchy. And we've broken a wire down there once already, and it might just be that. So we're going to get this thing up on jack stands and start with looking at the wiring. So here we are under the car, and yes, this thing does leak quite a bit of oil. What do you expect from a used engine we knew nothing about, right? At any rate, we've been having problems with all this wiring here, and we've got a broken wire. Now this wiring is the original factory wiring for this car, so this stuff's 50-something years old. And what happens is this insulation gets hard after a while, and then through vibrations it can just crack in one spot, and then the wire will just work back and forth there and break it off. We've already repaired one of these once already. I don't remember which one. So what we'll do this time, we'll put a new end on this, and we'll put some heat shrink tubing on it to help support it, to try to prevent it from doing it again. But while we're under here, we're going to make sure the starter is good. So we're going to go ahead and pull this white and brown wire off and get it out of the way. And I got my little push button to start this thing. We get one of these wires, put it on, one of these clamps, put it on that terminal, and the other one we'll put right here to, I can get my hand in there, the hot wire, and then we'll push the button and see what happens. Starter is still good. He didn't burn it up. We fix this wire, he should be all good on that. So now that we got the starter wire fixed and it's cranking over, I figured we'd pull the plugs and run a quick compression check on it. And actually it looked a whole lot better than I expected on this old engine. We're between 128 and 140 across the board, which is only 9% difference. Perfectly acceptable. But just as I finished running the compression check, I looked over at the carbs and figured out what the problem was. This was the pipe. These usually used to come up and connect to here through a Y. These were blocked off because some cars don't tune well like that, and this car didn't want to, so we blocked them off. Well, with him not using the choke, it spit back through the carbs, blew that thing off, and so the front two cylinders are running too lean, causing a miss. Put that back on, we can retune it, and it should be fine. So the next issue we're going to look at is the tailgate doesn't want to open all the time. And it's actually a surprisingly common issue and a really easy fix. In this case, see, it's moving around a bit. And we do it like this, it doesn't want to open, but we kind of move it a little bit and we can get it to open. So now on the GT, there's this cover over the latch. The Roadster does not have that. When you take these two screws out, and there's actually supposed to be one there too, it's not there, to get in there to show you what's going on. All right, so we get in here and we look. This lock is held in with this nut. See, this nut actually loosened up here. We need to tighten that down. It usually takes like a screwdriver and punching it to get it to tighten up good enough. The other issue is this here. This bolt here is loose, so this isn't lining up properly because it's moving around. So we need to snug that down. Now later cars had a much bigger, much wider cup here, and it actually keys in so it doesn't move around. So the next item on the list we decided to try to take care of is the control for the heater. This is the one for the temperature side, which is over on this left side here, which is actually the easy one to get to. Because he had previously broke the knob because this thing was so stiff and wouldn't move. And rather than putting another knob on it, we said, let's just wait till we get it in here and can work on it. It comes out pretty easily, actually. The knob has this little button here. There's a hole in the side of the knob. You push that in and then pull the knob off. And that's actually the hardest part of getting these out, because sometimes that knob just does not want to come off there. And you got a 5/8 socket to take the nut off, and then there's a little lock washer and flat washer behind there. Then you can pull it out the back of the dash, then take the cable stop and clamp loose. So I've cleaned this thing up. It now works like it's supposed to, but the cable still feels a little stiff, so we'll probably have to lubricate that before we put this all back together, and maybe even put a heater control valve in. We'll see when we put this back in how well it moves. Then we decided, well, since we're in here and we're up in this part of the dash, we're going to go ahead and put some LED bulbs in the gauges. Now, let me get some lights off on here, and we'll show you the difference between this one having an LED and the rest of them not. I'm not 100% sure how well it's actually showing up on the video here, but as you can see, that it seemed like originally these things were even more pitiful than usual. Putting the LED bulb in it is going to make a huge difference. So now when he's driving down the road at night, he can actually see his speedometer bouncing around and maybe have a better guess of how fast he's going. So next job on the list, we took the seat out because he had ripped out this nut, the captive nut here, and actually this one here too, and the seat was moving around quite a bit. And well, we've opened up a can of worms here that turned out to be a whole lot worse than anticipated. We got all this rust up in here. Looking from the bottom side, you wouldn't have expected anywhere near this much in here. And this car supposedly it had rockers put in it in the past, and evidently all they did was the outer skins only. Didn't fix anything else other than shoving some body filler up in the castle rail and doing a very good job hiding the damage there. Yep. So it's still going to get a new choke cable put in it, but now that we know what we've got in the rockers and the other side's not that much better, that changes the possible plan for the future of this car. But now he needs to sit down and really think about it. What's he going to do? What can he afford to do? when can he go do it, all that stuff. I'm guessing at this point it's likely going to end up doing what I don't like to do, and that is just some fairly quick, easy patches to that to keep water from getting into the car. We'll treat that rust, make it so that the seat is held in really good, and it'll be a temporary repair until he can do something better with it later down the road.